I am in the book of John, chapter 21, in verses 15 through 17. In John chapter 21, verses 15 through 17, and I had been going over the fact that the Lord Jesus Christ had asked Peter a very important and a very poignant question. And that was, do you love me? And that is the theme that I was dealing with. And I laid out that the Lord Jesus Christ had asked Peter this 3 times. And it could not go unnoticed that prior to this, when Christ was being led to the cross, that Peter had denied that he even knew the Lord Jesus Christ 3 times. And now we have Christ after his resurrection, when he comes to Peter, and he asks him a very important question. Do you love me? Do you love me? Now, as I stated previously, Peter had been taught by Christ for 3 years. There's no greater education that a man could have received in this life than what the 12 apostles received at the feet of the Lord Jesus Christ. And Peter was among them. And we learned that when Christ came to Peter, that Peter immediately left his net in his fishing boat and became a disciple of Christ and followed him immediately. And to that end, Peter acknowledged that he had gave up all to follow Christ. Only to get to this part shortly before the ascension of Christ, to be asked by Christ 3 times in the space of 3 short verses. John 21, verses 15 through 17. And Jesus asked Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, do you love me? Do you love me? This is what he's asking. And this is an important question for all Christians. Do you love me? Now, Peter, as I said, had forsaken all to follow Christ. And he witnessed Christ. He witnessed his ministry. He witnessed the miracles. He witnessed the impact that he had on the religious rulers of the day. He witnessed Christ's reaction and how he dealt with Rome and his leadership. Peter witnessed all of this. And he experienced all of this. And after 3 years in his ministry and his involvement in the ministry of Jesus Christ, he gets down to this day where Christ asks him, do you love me? Do you love me? And this is a strange thing you would think, that would be coming from the Lord to Peter after all of this time that Peter has been with him. Because the repetition of this question assumes many things. Things that require Peter to look deeper into his own heart as to why he has joined up in this ministry and why he has clung to Christ these 3 years. You would think that Peter was probably a little frustrated as it comes across in these passages, because he's like wondering, why would you be asking me this question? I've been with you for 3 years. I gave up my profession. I came to follow and to serve you. And yes, I denied you. And for that, I'm sorry. But Christ only had one question for Peter. Do you love me? Christ did not condemn him. Christ didn't hearken back onto, and throw it in Peter's face that he had denied him those 3 times while he was being carried away to the cross to be crucified. He didn't criticize Peter for his fear. In fact, he told Peter what he would do before he did it. And yet, Peter was the first one that Christ wanted to bring comfort to after his resurrection, because he knew the greatness of the guilt that Peter must be feeling. So Christ would ask him, do you love me? And Christians, Peter was asked this question by Christ after 3 years of walking with him, the Lord himself. Many of you, like me, have walked with the Lord many years. I have served and been a Christian for 40 years. And my Christian journey has been up and down like many of you. Some of you have served him less years. Some of you have served him less years and better, more qualitative years. Some of you have served him more than 40 years. Some of you have served for a qualitative 40 years plus. Some of you less so. But the issue, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, what is going to matter is how we view Christ. And there's only one way to properly view him. There's only one way to properly understand him. There's only one way to be a part of his body. And that is to love him. Do you love him? Many of you go to church, never miss a Sunday. Many of you get up and pray early in the morning, lengthy prayers. Many of you will pray multiple times a day. Many of you will pray throughout the day. But I'm going to ask you this question, like Lord Jesus Christ asks, because he's going to ask us all this. Do you love him? Do you love him? You may pay tithes at church. You may be a deacon in your church, or an elder in your church, or some other helper in the church. You may lead Sunday school classes. You may organize conferences for church services. You may organize retreats. You may go to those retreats and bask in the afterglows that often take place. Some of you believe that because you speak in tongues, if you believe that is happening, which I don't, but those of you who believe that you do and that you are speaking in tongues, you think this is some kind of a badge or a emblem of your Christianity. It is not. The issue is, do you love Christ? Some of you think that you are casting out demons and healing the sick.